I drove to my beachfront villa after months abroad only to find my sister hosting a fancy family brunch there. She sneered, "Visitors aren't allowed. Leave before I press charges." I simply said, "Go ahead." Security arrived and saluted me. Everyone started begging for forgiveness. The coastal highway stretched before me like a ribbon of freedom. After 6 months working in Singapore, I was finally coming home to my sanctuary in Malibu. My hands gripped the steering wheel of my rental car as the Pacific Ocean glittered to my left, promising the peace I'd been craving since the moment I boarded my return flight. I bought the villa 3 years ago with money I'd earned myself. While my family had always dismissed my career in international consulting as playing businesswoman, the paychecks told a different story. The property sat on 2 acres of prime beachfront real estate, a modern glass and steel structure that I designed with an architect over countless video calls. Every detail reflected my taste, from the infinity pool that seemed to spill into the ocean to the meditation garden where I'd spent countless mornings watching the sunrise. My phone had been off for most of the flight. I preferred the disconnection, the ability to transition from work mode to home mode without the constant buzzing of notifications. As I turned onto the private road leading to my property, something felt off. There were cars lining the driveway. Lots of them. A white BMW I recognized as belonging to my mother. My brother-in-law's obnoxious red Porsche. Several other vehicles I couldn't immediately place. My stomach tightened as I approached the gate. It stood wide open, which never happened. I'd installed a sophisticated security system that kept the property locked down when I traveled. The gate should have required my fingerprint or a code to open. I parked near the entrance and grabbed my purse, leaving my luggage for later. The sound of laughter and music drifted from the back patio. My patio. Through the windows, I could see people moving around inside my house, holding champagne flutes and plates of food. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside, and the familiar scent of my home was overwhelmed by expensive perfume and the aroma of catered food. My minimalist entryway, usually serene and empty, was cluttered with designer handbags and shoes scattered across the travertine floor. I walked through the living room, my bare feet silent on the cool stone. The space looked different. My carefully chosen artwork had been rearranged. Someone had moved my furniture to accommodate more seating. There were water rings on my custom coffee table, something I'd specifically chosen for its delicate finish that required coasters. The scene on the patio stopped me cold. About 30 people were scattered across my outdoor space, dressed in garden party attire. White tablecloths covered rental tables I certainly hadn't ordered. A full bar setup occupied the corner where I usually did yoga. The infinity pool had floating decorations in it, flowers, and what looked like LED lights. My sister Madison stood at the center of it all, wearing a flowing white sundress and holding court like some sort of hostess. She was laughing at something, her hand on the arm of a man I didn't recognize. My mother sat nearby, looking elegant in pale blue linen. My brother-in-law Trevor was mixing drinks at my bar. Even my Aunt Carol was there, someone I hadn't spoken to in 2 years after she tried to borrow $50,000 from me for her failed boutique. I slid open the glass door and stepped onto the patio. The conversation didn't stop immediately. Why would it? These people thought they belonged here. Madison saw me first. Her face went through a series of expressions, surprise, confusion, then settling into something that looked almost like annoyance. She set down her champagne glass and walked toward me, her smile tight and artificial. "Can I help you?" she asked loudly enough that several nearby guests turned to look. "This is a private event." I stared at her, temporarily speechless. My own sister was asking if she could help me. "In my house." "Madison, what is this?" My voice came out calmer than I felt. She glanced back at the party, then returned her attention to me with an expression of exaggerated patience. "Look, I don't know how you got past the gate, but you need to leave. We've rented this venue for a family gathering, and we didn't authorize any visitors." "Rented?" She'd said rented. Rented from whom, exactly? I kept my voice level, but something dangerous must have shown in my eyes because Madison took a small step back. "The owner, obviously." She crossed her arms. "Now I'm going to have to call security if you don't leave immediately. In fact, I could press charges for trespassing." My mother had noticed the commotion and was making her way over, her face concerned. Several other family members were watching now, their conversations dying down as they sensed drama. "Maddie, what's going on?" My mother touched Madison's arm, then looked at me with the same expression she'd given me my entire life, vaguely disappointed, as if I were always somehow in the way. "This woman crashed our party, Mom. I'm handling it." "This woman," I repeated softly. "That's interesting phrasing." Madison's eyes narrowed. "Listen, I don't have time for whatever this is. Leave now, or I'll have you removed. We paid good money for this venue, and I won't have you ruining Angela's engagement party." "Angela? My cousin." I looked around and spotted her near the pool, wearing a sparkly dress and showing off a ring to a cluster of admirers. So this was an engagement party. At my house. For a cousin who'd once told me at Thanksgiving that my career was just a phase before I'd settle down and find a husband. "Go ahead," I said simply. "Press charges. Call security." I'll wait. Madison's face flushed. She pulled out her phone, and I could see her fingers trembling slightly as she dialed. Yes, hello? This is Madison Chen at the Malibu property on Pacific Coast Highway. We have an intruder who's refusing to leave. Can you send someone immediately? The party had gone completely silent now. Everyone was watching, their champagne forgotten, their plates of catered food growing cold. I stood perfectly still, my arms at my sides, waiting. Trevor had joined Madison, his face red and aggressive. You heard her. Get out before the cops show up. We don't need your kind here. My kind. I almost laughed. If only he knew. While Madison stayed on the phone, presumably being put on hold or transferred, I took the opportunity to look around more carefully. The damage was worse than I'd initially noticed. Someone had moved my original Rothko print from the dining room wall, leaving it propped carelessly against a side table. That piece had cost me $40,000 at auction. My rare orchids in the sunroom were wilting, probably because someone had cranked up the air conditioning without considering the plants. The custom silk curtains in the living room had what looked like champagne stains near the bottom. I walked further into the space, cataloging everything. My first edition collection of novels was scattered across the coffee table, being used as coasters despite the actual coasters sitting right there in their designated spot. Someone had rearranged my kitchen entirely, the granite countertops covered with catering equipment and dirty dishes. My espresso machine, an Italian import I'd saved months to buy, had ground spilled all around it. What are you doing? Madison had followed me inside, her phone still pressed to her ear. I said to wait outside. I'm looking at what you've done to this house, I said calmly, picking up one of my books. The cover was warped from moisture. Do you have any idea what this cost? It's just a book, she snapped, then returned her attention to the phone. Yes, hello? Finally. I need officers at the Pacific Coast Highway property immediately. I set the book down carefully and moved to the kitchen. The caterers had clearly been given free rein. My knife block was missing 2 knives. The custom walnut cutting board I commissioned from a local artisan had deep gouges in it, the kind you get from cutting directly on wood without a proper surface. My heart sank when I opened the refrigerator and found it completely cleared out. Everything I'd left carefully stored before my trip, gone. Replaced with party platters and champagne bottles. Where's my food? I asked, though I already knew Madison couldn't hear me over her conversation with the security dispatcher. My mother had ventured inside now, followed by Trevor and a few curious guests who probably sensed the situation was spiraling into something more entertaining than the party itself. Sophia? My mother's voice was uncertain. What are you doing here? I live here, Mom. I turned to face her, leaning against my violated kitchen counter. I own this house. Every square foot of it. She laughed nervously, the sound high and brittle. Don't be silly. Madison said this belongs to a rental company. Some corporation that manages luxury properties. Madison lied. I kept my voice even, watching my mother's face carefully. She's been lying to all of you. Trevor stepped forward, his expensive watch catching the light. Look, lady, I don't know what your angle is here, but you're seriously messing with the wrong people. My wife secured this property legally. We have contracts. Show me the contracts, I said simply. His face reddened further. Madison handles all that. The point is, we paid good money, and you're trespassing. I'm trespassing in my own home. I pulled out my phone and opened my Photos app, scrolling back to the documentation I'd taken when I first purchased the property. Here. The day I got the keys. 3 years ago. That's me standing in this exact kitchen. See the date stamp? I held the phone out, but Trevor barely glanced at it. Photos don't prove anything. Could be photoshopped. Could be, I agreed. Or I could show you the deed, the property tax bills, the utility accounts, the homeowner's insurance policy. All in my name. Sophia Marie Rodriguez. My mother had gone very pale. She sank onto one of my bar stools, her hand trembling as she pressed it to her mouth. Madison? What is she talking about? But Madison was still on the phone, her voice getting increasingly shrill. No, I don't want to wait for the next available unit. This is an emergency. There's a woman here who's threatening us, and she won't leave. A man I didn't recognize, older and distinguished looking in an expensive suit, approached with concern etched on his features. Is everything all right? Should we be worried? Everything's fine, Mr. Patterson, Trevor said quickly, shooting me a venomous look. Just a small misunderstanding we're clearing up. Mr. Patterson. I recognized the name. Angela had mentioned her fiancé came from money, old California money. His father was a venture capitalist who'd been featured in Forbes. Having a scene at his son's engagement party was probably Madison's worst nightmare. Actually, I said, directing my words to Mr. Patterson, everything is not fine. This party is being held at my private residence without my knowledge or permission. I've just returned from 6 months overseas to find my home invaded. His eyebrows rose. Your residence? I was told this was a rental property. It's not. I met his gaze steadily. It never has been. I'm the sole owner, and I did not authorize this event. Angela appeared at his side, her face flushed with embarrassment. Dad, maybe we should go. This seems like a family situation. We're not going anywhere, Trevor interjected. We paid for this venue, and we're staying until the party is over. This woman is clearly delusional or running some kind of scam. A scam, I repeated. You think I'm scamming you by claiming to own my own house? I think you saw a big party and decided to cause trouble, he said. Maybe you thought you could shake us down for money to leave quietly. But we're not falling for it. The irony of Trevor accusing anyone of trying to shake people down for money wasn't lost on me. This was the same man who'd called me crying 18 months ago, claiming his startup was about to go under and he'd lose everything if I didn't invest immediately. I'd wired him $50,000 that I never saw again. When I'd asked about repayment 6 months later, he told me that's what family did for each other. We helped without expecting anything in return. I don't want your money, Trevor. I crossed my arms. I want you out of my house. Madison finally ended her call, her face a mixture of triumph and lingering nervousness. They're sending officers. When they get here, you're going to be arrested. I hope whatever you thought you'd gain from this was worth it. Me too, I said softly. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Several other guests had drifted inside, drawn by the commotion. I recognized my cousin Bryce, Madison's friend Jennifer, a few other faces from family gatherings over the years. They all looked uncomfortable, trapped between the party they'd come to enjoy and the drama unfolding before them. Bryce cleared his throat. Maybe everyone should just calm down and talk this through like adults. There's nothing to talk through, Madison snapped. This person broke into our rental property and is now trying to claim she owns it. It's insane. Show them the rental agreement, I suggested. If you really rented this place legitimately, you'll have paperwork. A contract. Proof of payment to a rental company. Show everyone. Madison's eyes darted around the room, landing anywhere but on me. I don't have to prove anything to you. No, but you might want to prove it to them. I gestured to the assembled guests. To Mr. Patterson, who's probably wondering what kind of family his son is marrying into. To Mom, who looks like she's about to pass out. To all these people who came here in good faith, thinking they were attending a legitimate party. This is a legitimate party, Madison insisted, but her voice had lost its certainty. My mother stood up slowly, her legs seeming unsteady. Madison. Baby. Just show us the papers. Clear this up right now. Mom, you're taking her side? Madison's voice cracked. You're actually believing this stranger over your own daughter? She's not a stranger, my mother whispered. She's your sister. And I'm beginning to think she's telling the truth. The recognition in my mother's eyes hurt more than Madison's denial. Had I really been gone so long, worked so hard, that my own mother hadn't immediately recognized me? I'd changed my hair, sure. Lost some weight from the stress of travel and long work hours. Started dressing differently, more professionally. But I was still me. Still Sophia. Of course I'm telling the truth. I pulled up my banking app on my phone, navigating to the account where I paid my mortgage. Look. Monthly payments to First California Bank for this property address. 3 years of payment history. I walked over to my mother and showed her the screen. She took the phone with shaking hands, scrolling through the transactions. Her face crumpled as reality set in. Oh God, she breathed. Sophia. Sweetheart. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I find that hard to believe, I said quietly, taking my phone back. Madison told you she was renting a multi-million-dollar beachfront villa in Malibu, and you didn't think to ask questions? You didn't wonder how she could afford that on Trevor's income? Trevor's face flushed dark red. My income is just fine, thanks. Is it? I looked at him directly. Last I heard, your third startup failed. Before that, you asked me for $200,000 to invest in some cryptocurrency scheme that sounded suspiciously like a Ponzi scheme. I said no, and you called me a selfish bitch. Sound familiar? The room had gone silent except for the distant sound of waves and music still playing softly through my outdoor speakers. No one seemed to know where to look. Jennifer, Madison's friend, touched her arm gently. Mads, is this true? Did you lie about renting this place? I didn't lie, Madison said, but her voice was barely above a whisper. I just simplified things. Sophia's never here. The house sits empty. She doesn't need it like we do. We have events to host, people to impress. She just uses it as some kind of trophy, proof of how successful she is. It's my home, I said, fighting to keep my voice level. My refuge. My private space. The place I come back to after months of traveling for work. It's not a trophy. It's where I live. You're never here to live in it, Madison shot back, some of her fight returning. 6 months in Singapore. 4 months in London before that. 8 weeks in Dubai. You're always somewhere else, always chasing the next big client, the next big paycheck. This house is wasted on you. The security response was faster than I expected, but then again, I paid them extremely well. 2 uniformed guards appeared through the side gate, both men I recognized. Marcus, the senior officer, and James, who'd been with the company for 6 years. Madison rushed toward them immediately. Thank God you're here. This woman broke into the property and is refusing to leave. We need her escorted off immediately and possibly arrested for trespassing. Marcus looked past Madison to me. His face split into a wide smile. Ms. Rodriguez. Welcome home. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow. He walked right past my sister and extended his hand to me. I shook it, watching Madison's face turn from flushed pink to pale white. Flight landed early, I said. Though I seem to have come home to quite a surprise. James had snapped to attention, giving me a small salute. Ma'am. Should we clear the property? The patio had become so quiet I could hear the ocean waves crashing below the cliff. Madison's mouth was opening and closing, but no sound was coming out. My mother had one hand pressed to her chest, her face a mask of shock. Trevor had taken several steps backward, nearly bumping into the bar. Someone want to explain what's happening? Angela's fiancé asked, his voice uncertain. What's happening, I said clearly, making sure everyone could hear, is that you're all trespassing on my property. Madison found her voice, though it came out strangled. Your property? That's insane. You can't. You don't. I bought this house 3 years ago. I pulled out my phone, accessing the property documents I kept in my secure files. Would you like to see the deed? It's in my name. Sophia Marie Rodriguez. The same name on the security system, the utility bills, the property taxes I pay twice a year. My mother sank into the nearest chair. Sophia? But Madison said she was renting it from a real estate company. She showed me paperwork. I turned to my sister. Did you? Show everyone the paperwork you used to rent my house. Madison's face had gone from pale to gray. Her hands were shaking visibly now. There was a listing. All 9. The rental company must have made a mistake. There's no rental company. I kept my voice steady, though anger was building in my chest like a wave. There's no listing. My house has never been available to rent. So how did you get in, Madison? How did you get past the security gate? How did you disarm the alarm system? The silence stretched. I could see calculations happening behind Madison's eyes, trying to figure out how to explain this away, how to make herself the victim somehow. I have keys, she finally whispered. You gave me emergency keys. Remember? 3 years ago when you first bought the place. You said in case something happened while you were traveling. The memory surfaced. She was right. I'd given her a key and the security code during my first business trip after buying the villa. Just in case, I'd said. In case of emergency. In case the house flooded or caught fire or needed someone to check on it. Emergency access, I said slowly. For emergencies. Not for throwing parties. I didn't think you'd mind. Her voice rose, defensive now. You're never here. The house just sits empty for months at a time. It seemed wasteful. I thought I was doing you a favor by actually using the space. A favor? I looked around at the elaborate setup, the catered food, the rented furniture. And I suppose I should be grateful? Thank you so much for throwing your cousin's engagement party at my house without asking. Thank you for moving my furniture and leaving water stains on my table. Thank you for filling my pool with decorations and turning my bar into your personal cocktail station. Trevor stepped forward, his chest puffed out. Look, this is a family matter. There's no need to make a scene in front of everyone. Madison made a mistake, fine. But we can talk about this privately. After the party. After the party, I repeated. You want me to let you finish your party? At my house. That you broke into. We didn't break in, Madison protested. I had keys. Keys you were given for emergencies, which you used without permission to enter my home and host an event. I pulled out my phone again. That's still trespassing, Madison. The key doesn't give you carte blanche to use my property however you want. My mother stood up, her voice taking on the commanding tone she'd used throughout my childhood. Sophia, don't be ridiculous. Family doesn't press charges against family. Madison made a poor choice, yes, but surely we can resolve this without involving lawyers and police. Family. The word tasted bitter. The same family that's been treating me like an ATM for years? The same family that mocked my career, my choices, my independence? The same family that conveniently remembers I exist when they need money or favors? That's not fair, my mother said, but her voice was weak. Isn't it? I turned to address the entire party. Let me give you all some context. When I bought this house, Madison told everyone I was being selfish for not buying something bigger that could accommodate family gatherings. She said I was showing off. When I got promoted to senior consultant, my mother asked why I was wasting my time traveling when I could settle down in LA like a normal person. When Trevor's startup failed last year, he asked me for a $200,000 investment, then called me a bitch when I said no. Trevor's face went purple. You had the money? You could have helped. I could have, I agreed. But I'd already helped you once. And the time before that. I've lost count of how many loans I've given family members that were never paid back. The vacation I funded for Mom and Madison in Paris. The car I bought for my brother when his died. The money I sent on Carol for her boutique. None of it returned. None of it even acknowledged except when someone needs more. Angela had the grace to look embarrassed. She'd been one of the recipients of my generosity, a check for $15,000 when she needed dental surgery 2 years ago. We're family, Madison said, her voice pleading now. Family helps each other. Then why didn't you help me? The question came out sharper than I intended. When I was working 3 jobs to pay for college, where were you? When I was sleeping in my car between shifts because I couldn't afford rent, who offered me a couch? When I built my career from nothing, who celebrated with me? Madison's eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't tell if they were genuine or performative. With her, it was always hard to tell. You never asked for help, my mother said quietly. You were always so independent. So determined to do everything yourself. Because asking meant being told I was being dramatic. It meant lectures about how I should have made better choices. It meant being compared to Madison, who did everything the right way. Got married young, stayed in LA, let her husband support her. The perfect daughter. The words hung in the air, years of resentment finally voiced. My mother looked as though I'd slapped her. Marcus cleared his throat gently. Ms. Rodriguez, what would you like us to do? I looked around at the party, at the guilty faces, the embarrassed relatives, the confused strangers who'd thought they were attending a legitimate event. Despite everything, I felt tired more than angry. 6 months in Singapore, dealing with difficult clients and complicated projects, and I'd been looking forward to coming home to peace. Instead, I'd come home to this. Give them an hour to clear out, I said finally. Everything needs to be removed. The rental furniture, the catering equipment, the decorations. I want my house exactly as I left it. Marcus, please document everything that's damaged or missing. I'll be filing insurance claims. You can't be serious, Trevor said. Do you know how much we spent on this party? Should have spent it at a real venue. I met his eyes. You have an hour. After that, anyone still on the property will be arrested for trespassing. Madison grabbed my arm, her fingers digging in. Sophia, please. You're humiliating me in front of everyone. These are important people. Angela's fiancé's family is here. His parents are major donors to the city symphony. You're ruining everything. I removed her hand from my arm carefully. I'm not ruining anything. You ruined it when you broke into my house. You ruined it when you decided your convenience was more important than my privacy. You ruined it when you lied to everyone about renting this place. I'll pay you. Her voice was desperate now. Whatever you think it's worth. I'll pay you for today. It's not about money. Though truthfully, part of me wanted to know exactly how much she thought my home was worth for a few hours of rental. It's about respect. Something you've never shown me. Angela approached, her engagement ring catching the sunlight. Sophia, I'm sorry. I didn't know Madison hadn't cleared this with you. If I had known, I never would have agreed to have the party here. At least she had the decency to apologize. I nodded at her. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope you have a beautiful wedding. Just not at my house. The next hour was chaos. Catering staff began packing up food and equipment. Guests made hasty exits, most of them avoiding eye contact with me. The rental company sent trucks to collect their tables and chairs. My family moved in awkward silence, helping to restore some semblance of order. I watched from inside, sitting in my favorite chair by the window. James brought me a bottle of water from my fridge, and I thanked him. Marcus kept a detailed list on his tablet, photographing every scratch, every stain, every piece of my property that had been moved or damaged. My mother came inside at one point, her makeup slightly smudged from stress or tears. She sat down across from me without asking permission. You've changed, she said quietly. You used to be so sweet. So accommodating. I grew up, I replied. I got tired of being everyone's backup plan. Everyone's safety net. Everyone's ATM. We love you, Sophia. Do you? I met her eyes. Or do you love what I can provide? Be honest, Mom. When was the last time you called me just to talk? Not to ask for money or favors. Not to tell me about what Madison accomplished or what Trevor needed. When did you last call just to see how I was doing? She opened her mouth, then closed it. We both knew the answer. I'm sorry, she said eventually. I didn't realize how much we'd taken advantage. I suppose I thought that because you were successful, you wouldn't mind helping. That it was easy for you. Nothing about my success was easy. I took a sip of water. I worked for every dollar. Every promotion. Every client. And yes, I'm happy to help family when there's genuine need. But this? I gestured toward the patio. This wasn't need. This was entitlement. She nodded slowly, standing up with the careful movements of someone who'd aged while I wasn't looking. I'll make sure Madison gives you back the keys. All of them. And the security codes. I'm changing the codes anyway, I said. And the locks. After she left, I sat in silence for a while. The house gradually emptied. The trucks drove away. The catering staff finished their cleanup. Through the window, I watched Madison directing the final stages of the breakdown, her movements jerky and angry. Trevor came to the door but didn't enter, just stood at the threshold. You know this makes you look like a monster, right? Your own sister's party. Your wife broke into my house, I said flatly. She committed a crime. If that makes me a monster for enforcing consequences, then I guess I'm a monster. He shook his head and left. I heard his Porsche roar to life a few minutes later, tires squealing as he sped down the driveway. Before the last catering van pulled away, one of the staff members approached Marcus hesitantly. She was young, probably early 20s, with kind eyes that looked genuinely apologetic. Excuse me, she said, glancing nervously between Marcus and the house. Is the owner here? I'd like to apologize. Marcus called me out, and I walked to the patio where the young woman stood wringing her hands. I'm so sorry, ma'am, she said immediately. We had no idea this wasn't authorized. The woman who hired us, she had keys, knew the security codes, had all the details about the property. We never thought to question it. If we'd known you hadn't given permission, we never would have taken the job. Her distress seemed genuine, and honestly, she was right. How would a catering company know? Madison had all the access codes, all the keys, all the appearance of legitimate authority. It's not your fault, I assured her. My sister is very convincing when she wants to be. Still, we should have asked for more verification. She pulled out a business card. If there's any damage we caused, or if you need anything at all, please call us. We'd like to make this right. I took the card, touched by her professionalism. Thank you. I appreciate that. After she left, I returned inside to find Marcus had compiled a more extensive list than I'd initially thought. He walked me through each item, his tablet full of photos and detailed notes. The hardwood in the dining room has several scratches, looks like from furniture being dragged, he explained, showing me close-up images. The coffee table has water damage here and here. 2 wine glasses broken, found in the landscaping. The orchids in the sunroom are in bad shape, probably won't make it. Several of your books have water damage. Kitchen knife block is missing 2 knives. The cutting board has gouges. And your refrigerator was completely cleared out. They threw away my food? I felt a spike of anger at this detail. I'd had specific items in there, ingredients I'd been planning to use when I got home. Some of it had been expensive, imported cheeses and specialty items I'd ordered before my trip. Looks like it. The catering company said they were told the fridge needed to be empty for their use. They put everything in trash bags. I closed my eyes, breathing slowly. It wasn't about the money. I could replace all of it. But it was the principle. The absolute disregard for my belongings, my space, my life. There's also this, Marcus said, swiping to another photo. Someone went into your office. My heart sank. My office was my sanctuary within my sanctuary. I kept important documents there, personal files, my laptop when I wasn't traveling. I followed Marcus upstairs, dreading what I'd find. The door to my office stood ajar. Inside, it was clear someone had been searching through things. My desk drawers weren't quite closed properly. Papers were slightly out of order. My filing cabinet had been opened, the folders not quite aligned as I always kept them. What were they looking for? I wondered aloud. Marcus shrugged. Hard to say. Maybe checking to see if the house really was a rental property? Looking for documents that would confirm their story? Or Madison had been searching for something specific. Money, perhaps. Or documents she could use. I made a mental note to check my important papers later, make sure nothing was missing. We found more issues as we continued the inspection. Someone had used my master bathroom, leaving wet towels on my bed. Makeup stains on one of my white guest towels. A lipstick print on a wine glass left on my nightstand. The casual invasion of every space in my home made my skin crawl. I want all the locks changed, I told Marcus. Everything. Front door, back door, side gates, garage. All of it. Already called a locksmith, he confirmed. He'll be here within the hour. Also recommended upgrading to the biometric system we discussed last year. Much harder to duplicate or share access. Do it, I said immediately. Whatever it costs. As we finished the inspection upstairs, I noticed something else. My jewelry box, usually kept in the back of my closet, was sitting on my dresser. Open. My heart racing, I went through the contents quickly. Everything seemed to be there, but the fact that someone had gone through it, touched my grandmother's pearls, my mother's original wedding ring that she'd given me before she married Madison's father, made me feel violated in a way the party itself hadn't. Marcus, I need to check something. I pulled out my phone and accessed my security system's historical logs. The system tracked every time a door was opened, every code entered, every motion sensor triggered. The data confirmed what I'd suspected. Madison had been using her emergency key and code regularly. Not just today, but for months. The log showed entries going back nearly 8 months, sometimes multiple times a week. She's been coming here, I said, showing Marcus the screen. Using my house like it's hers. While I've been traveling. His expression darkened. That's a serious violation, Ms. Rodriguez. With this kind of documentation, you could absolutely press charges. Breaking and entering, theft of services at minimum. I sat down on my bed, suddenly exhausted. The audacity of it was staggering. All those months I'd been working abroad, thinking my house was safe and secure, Madison had been treating it like her personal vacation home. Having friends over, probably. Using my pool, my kitchen, my space. Living a life she couldn't afford on my dime. The question is, Marcus continued carefully, what do you want to do about it? This documentation is solid. The DA would have no problem with this case. I thought about Madison's face when Marcus had saluted me. The shock, the fear, the realization that she'd been caught. Part of me wanted to make her pay, really pay, for what she'd done. But another part, the part that remembered being kids together, remembered loving her before jealousy and resentment poisoned everything, hesitated. Let me think about it, I said finally. Keep all the documentation. I want everything saved and backed up. But I need time to decide. Marcus nodded. Understood. For what it's worth, I think you're being more than fair. A lot of people would have had her arrested on the spot. After Marcus left to coordinate the locksmith and continue his documentation, I walked through my house again, this time slowly, really seeing the space I created. Every piece of furniture chosen carefully. Every artwork selected because it spoke to me. Every detail reflecting my taste, my journey, my success. This house represented freedom. After years of struggling, of proving myself, of fighting for every opportunity, I'd finally achieved something tangible. Something that was mine alone. And Madison had treated it like a toy she could borrow whenever she wanted. The locksmith arrived and got to work. I gave him a list of every access point, watched as he methodically replaced each lock with new, more sophisticated versions. The biometric scanners were installed on the main entrances, sleek panels that would read my fingerprint and only mine. While he worked, I started going through my belongings more carefully, checking what else might have been disturbed. In my wine cellar, I found several empty spots where expensive bottles should have been. A 1982 Bordeaux I'd been saving for a special occasion, gone. A rare Napa Valley vintage, gone. Probably served at one of Madison's unauthorized parties. The financial loss was adding up, but again, it wasn't really about the money. It was about the theft of my peace of mind. The knowledge that nowhere was truly safe if the people you trusted would betray you like this. My phone kept buzzing with texts, but I ignored them all. I wasn't ready to engage, wasn't ready to hear excuses or justifications or pleas for understanding. Right now, I needed to focus on reclaiming my space, making it secure again, making it feel like home again. Finally, the property was empty except for me and the security team. Marcus came to give me his report. 3 scratches on the hardwood floor inside. Water damage to the coffee table. 2 broken wine glasses he'd found in the bushes. Some trampled plants in my meditation garden. Overall, it could have been worse. Do you want us to press charges, Ms. Rodriguez? He asked. I considered it. Really considered it. Madison had committed breaking and entering, essentially. Trespassing. Fraud, possibly, if she'd taken money from guests under false pretenses about renting the venue. But she was still my sister. And despite everything, some part of me remembered being kids together. Playing in our grandmother's backyard. Sharing secrets late at night. Before success and jealousy had poisoned everything between us. Not this time, I said. But I want it documented. Every detail. If this happens again, I want a clear record. Marcus nodded approvingly. Smart. Paper trail is always good. After they left, I walked through my house slowly, reclaiming the space. I moved furniture back to where I wanted it. I lit my favorite candles. I opened all the windows to let the ocean breeze clear out the lingering scent of perfume and catered food. In the master bedroom, I finally let myself feel the exhaustion of the day. The 14-hour flight from Singapore. The shock of finding my home invaded. The confrontation with my family. All of it crashed over me at once, and I sat on the edge of my bed, staring out at the ocean. My phone buzzed. Text messages had been accumulating while I dealt with everything. Most were from family members. Madison, I hope you're happy. You humiliated me in front of everyone who matters. Don't expect me to ever speak to you again. Trevor, selfish bitch. My mother, please reconsider pressing charges if you were thinking about it. Madison is devastated. Can we talk tomorrow? My brother Jake, who'd been noticeably absent from the party, heard what happened. Sorry you had to deal with that. Want to grab coffee this week? Angela, thanks for not making a bigger scene than necessary. For what it's worth, the party would have been beautiful if it had been done right. Maybe we can actually talk sometime? I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I changed into comfortable clothes and walked out to the patio. The sun was beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The pool was clean again, the decorations removed. The rental furniture was gone. My space was mine once more. I'd worked so hard for this life. This independence. This peace. And I'd be damned if I let anyone take it from me again, family or not. The weeks that followed were predictably messy. Madison sent me a bill for the party expenses, which I framed and hung in my office as a reminder. Trevor left angry voicemails that I deleted without listening to. My mother tried several times to arrange a family dinner to work things out, which I politely declined. But something had shifted. The family members who genuinely apologized, Angela, my brother Jake, even Aunt Carol who sent a surprisingly heartfelt letter, I made time for them. Small coffees. Short phone calls. Rebuilding trust slowly. The others, the ones who felt entitled to my space, my money, my constant accommodation, I let them go. It hurt less than I'd expected. Maybe I'd been ready to let go for years and just hadn't realized it. I had the security system upgraded. New locks, new codes, biometric scanners that only recognize my fingerprints. Marcus and James got raises for their professionalism during the incident. I hired a property manager to check on the house during my travels, someone with no connection to my family. 3 months later, I was back in Singapore for another project. But this time, when I came home, my villa was exactly as I'd left it. Peaceful. Private. Mine. And if my family wanted to be part of my life, they'd have to do it on my terms. With respect. With boundaries. With the understanding that I was no longer the accommodating little sister who'd bend over backward to keep everyone happy. I was Sofia Rodriguez, successful consultant, homeowner, and a woman who'd finally learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't making people pay. It's simply refusing to let them take anything more from you. Standing on my patio that first night back from Singapore, watching the waves crash below, I realized I'd finally come home in more ways than one. Home to my house, yes. But also home to myself. To the woman who knew her worth and wouldn't settle for anything less than she deserved. The ocean stretched out before me, vast and endless. My future felt the same way. Full of possibilities. Full of potential. And entirely, beautifully, mine.